yourself comfortable. You caught me. I'm at it again. Debriefing data. So, just to show you something that I found useful with iReady, you're going to love this. We've got a brand new report. Now, I know that in the past when we've talked about iReady reports, we've kind of been a little bit bummed by the way that it goes into domain rather than standards. So you're probably going to like the fact that if you go to reports and you choose your class, you're going to see that you have a brand new GSE report. And so you can pull that up for both reading and math. So when we click into the reading component, I wonder if Miss Edenfield would mind if I used her class.
I don't mind.
Gonna see Miss Edenfield's report. And I want to show you that for the standards that are listed for your reading standards, you're going to get a very specific detail about how many of your students have mastered the skill, how many of the students are emerging in the skill, and then how many of the students still need help with that skill. So as you're looking at this information, you can look to see what percentage of your students are struggling with each individual standard. So for example, Miss Edenfield, as I look at your data, I see that you've got a lot of students that are still having a hard time describing the connection between two individuals, events, ideas, characters, details. So if that were a skill that you were able to identify as problematic for your class, you could actually excuse me, I went off the path. It's okay, just bear with me. So once you identify that standard, let me see if I can go back without getting out of this, which is going to be 1L5C, you're probably going to like this. Miss Enfield, get ready to get excited.
I can't wait.
Okay, so you've got that standard in mind. You're looking for something to help you reteach that standard. Now, if you go under Assess and Teach, Teacher Toolbox is usually off limits, right? Not anymore. We're getting ready to log in to Teacher Toolbox. So I have already created or registered with my email address and a password. So if you have not done that, you will go ahead and get yourself set up with the Teacher Toolbox. Okay, hold on. Let's see if we get this. Bingo. So here we've got lessons that you can utilize for math, reading, and, writing.
Huh.
Now, don't get too excited. Writing is only going to be available for grades 2 through 5. However, if you have some first grade students that are more excelled in that area, then you could pull some of these second grade lessons to challenge them and help them with their growth. But let's continue on with Miss Edenfield's standard. We're going to pull that up for grade 1. Now, remember we said what did we say, Miss Edenfield?
That you have.
This is a test for you, Miss Edenfield.
That you have writing about.
We were comparing, right? What were we comparing, Miss Edenfield? Characters, text features, All right, so if we come here to lesson 15, which is going to address the standard that Miss Edenfield's class was struggling with, you're going to see that you have some lessons that you can use with the students. You have a student page. Just feast your eyes on this.
Whoa.
You have a student page, but what good is the student page going to be without your lesson? So you have a lesson plan. Now, one of the things that you can do, you get to determine whether you want to do a lesson whole group, which with the majority of the students struggling on that standard, I would suggest that you do this whole group. But you can also target other areas that you find from this standards targeted data to determine about any small group lessons that you want to do at your teacher table. As we mentioned before, you may find that you have a student that is making sufficient progress as far as being on grade level, but maybe their growth is not where you want it to be. So you could use some of these lessons to challenge those students. So let's see what we've got for math. You can also pull up a report to see where your kids are struggling or need some extension lessons in math, and you can match those standards to the lessons in this teacher toolbox. I know that I have just recently been working in first grade classrooms where you are teaching to tell time. So the standard for that would be here. So first grade teachers, if this is something that your students are struggling with, you have your lesson plan. In full color, day by day, telling you exactly how much time that you should plan for those lessons. Also, we have student resources, and I won't click on each one of them. You've got some quizzes, assessments. Forgot about this part. You can't see that Miss Edenfield's back here. She's shy. But she's back here loving this because we have some math center activities. How much do we struggle to try to find those center activities? And actually in the reading component, not every lesson will have station activities, but there are station activities in some of those reading lessons as well. And then if we look at the writing, now I know that it doesn't apply to kindergarten or first grade, but like I said, if you have some first graders, Miss Edenfield, and you're over there grading your paper, so I know that you have some students that are really well versed in their writing, so then you could challenge them with some of these grade 2 activities. We have writing to inform, narrative, opinion writing. So this is something I was working in a 3rd grade room today on opinion writing. So for you 3rd grade teachers, you would tap into grade 3. You could go to a lesson like this, where you have your teacher lesson.
Go back to informational if they have it, because that's what we're teaching right now.
Okay. I like this. Honestly, I haven't even noticed this until now. The learning progression. That's really good with like some of the things that we've been doing as we try to do our vertical alignment to see from grade 1 what they need to be prepared to do in grade 2 and so on and so forth. So that's very good. Pacing guide. I'll be honest, we're not going to have access to this teacher toolbox forever. So they didn't tell me when the carriage turns back into a pumpkin. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but I would take full advantage of this while you could. Some graphic organizers. Miss Enfield, what did you ask me to look for?
Informational, right? Informational text.
So writing to inform. Writing to inform. Now, of course, we have our own, in first grade they call it a tree map. But at Gracewood, you know, we use our own tree, and then it makes way into the flea map in the upper grades. But this is very reminiscent of what we already use at Gracewood. You know, you've got your introduction, and then I see that they've got a place right here where they ask you for your details. I would just to, is my time up? Okay. Just to keep the consistency, I would go ahead and use the one that you have copies of that we've decided on for Gracewood. Ooh, look at the conferencing prompts. Y'all, what are you working on? Tell me about it. How is it going? Y'all, this is great.
Now, why is it going to be for a limited time, did you say?
They've opened it up because of Maymester, you know, remediating for the GMAS. But I think if we really liked it, maybe there would be a way that we could figure out if it's something that we could secure for our school, or maybe the county would see the benefit in it. I'm not sure, but I really like it. So let's review. We have your report to your class. It's the GSE report, reading or math. I'll go to math this time. Remember that this green check represents how many of the students have mastered the standard. This represents how many of the students are progressing on the standard. And the X represents how many of the students are having a hard time or struggling with that standard. And, you know, some of these standards you haven't covered yet. I know that we're still covering content. But let's just say that you had covered understanding subtraction. Well, Ms. Edenfield, you still have 3 kids that are struggling with that. So this would be an opportunity of when you might want to pull this as a lesson to do small group, to do an intervention with these students. Okay, so we said that that was MGSE1. So that would be what you would look for as you toggle back and forth between the teacher toolbox and your data. What else? I submitted in an email some supporting documents that'll be handy when you're navigating this information. If you want to make instructional groups, write the standard that you're working on, and then make notations to yourself about what lesson you think would be beneficial to work on. I have some forms that you can use for your own personal organization to keep up with that. What else did I have for you? I had some iReady sheets to where your kids, if you want to make them more proactive in keeping up with their data, these forms can be used for them to track their goals and their progress. I think that about covers it. I mean, minus the built-in time. I was going to give you some time to look at your data and form some groups and explore the teacher toolbox and pull out some lessons that you thought you could use next week. But you can do that at your leisure and at your own pace and in your own time. Does anybody have any questions?
Anybody being me.
Do you have any questions, Ms. Edenfield? Are you excited?
I'm so excited.
I am really excited because we didn't really get the opportunity to explore this at the PL that I was at. But looking at the small group activities, the whole group activities, the intervention, the way that you can use it to boost understandings for kids that are already in that high performing range.
I like the way it breaks it down in standards rather than domains, because it really gets specific.
I do too, because the domains are so broad, it makes it very difficult to pinpoint exactly where a student is struggling. This does that for you.
It does. It's like listen.
Any other concerns?
No concerns.
Any other comments? Or don't big eye me, Miss Edenfield. I don't care if I'm on camera. Don't you big eye me. So I guess that concludes my little tidbit of information. If you have any questions, I'm always available to help. And don't forget to go into Business Plus and register for today's session after you watch this. Let me see. You'll register for, I called it data-driven instruction for your agenda. So you go into Business Plus, register. Remember that you have some steps about how you can disaggregate, is that how you say it? Your data?
What is the word? I have to see the word.
I think that's the right word. If it's not, just forgive me. And then this is the form that I was telling you about, making your instructional groups and making some notes about the standards and the student tracking sheets. I've attached all of this into your email. So,
Miss Craft, did
Should
you
be-
say disaggravate?
disaggregate, right?
Oh, because I thought you said disaggravate.
But
It
I'm
is
getting disaggravated right now because I said disaggregate. Any other concerns? All right, thank you.